press it hard. Okay, talk. Sorry.
Right. Well, after this shaky start, you're listening to CABTalk, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers in this area. Now, this morning I'm very pleased to have some guests on this radio station program, and I want to welcome them. First of all, they are from Community Connections. Now, we do get confused with all these connections, but this is definitely Community Connections, and I want to welcome Shane Haskell and Kim. Thank you very much for coming. Welcome, Shane.
Good morning, Wesley, and thanks for inviting us, and good morning. Welcome to hello to our listeners.
And thank you for having us.
Now, Kim, your role in this position is supporting people. Can you give me a little précis of what your position is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work in the Wairarapa region as an employment specialist. So my job is to support individuals to help them find employment. And I do that coming from a criminology background, as well as an abnormal psychology and mental health background. So those are the kind of individuals that I have a little bit more knowledge and skills to help, combat their complex needs. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what I do in the Wairarapa.
Yes. Shane, what is yours?
Yes, Kim and I both work together collaboratively, working with people with challenges, any sort of barriers for employment. So under the umbrella of Community Connections, we focus on employment connections. And like Kim said, we work with diverse people, people with challenges, barriers to employment. And Kim has the knowledge, she brings the knowledge that she has, and I have life experience of living with a disability, being legally blind. I empathise with people that have challenges, and I mentor them, help them to overcome their barriers, their challenges, to work towards paid employment, ultimately. But often that also may start with work experience or any sort of activities in the community that are going to help them move forward, progress.
Yes. So in this community, it's quite small really, isn't it?
Yes, very.
And so do you find it's very difficult to find employment in, a variety of employment?
Well, I think the Wairarapa people, and I'm sure Shane can agree, they're actually a lot more open than like such big cities like Wellington. I've come from Wellington. Yeah. But I feel like they're a lot more willing to help in the community. So you kind of got the option of, approaching employers and actually creating jobs rather than just seeking what's already advertised. Yeah. And I think that, they're a lot more open and understanding of needs and actually are really supportive.
I suppose at the moment, and what we've been through with the pandemic, it makes it even more difficult.
Yeah, COVID's definitely put a spanner in the works, but you got to stay positive.
Yes, and I think that's where people are becoming more positive.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm a very positive person. I like to turn negatives into positive wherever I can. Yes. And actually, the COVID pandemic hasn't impacted a great deal on the people we support because a lot of them don't have a lot of social activity, don't have a lot of social lives. So yes. They often isolate themselves anyway from people in the community. So it hasn't had a great impact. Yeah. But having said that, when they have wanted to get out, obviously they haven't been able to. So for that reason, it does sort of change their mindset a little bit. Mm. Yeah, and I think it's taught people to think differently, do differently. It's been a lot of, obviously, the online shopping and things like that. So delivery jobs that people can do. Some of our people aren't so confident being customer facing. So if they can drive a delivery vehicle, that certainly helps out for our people, and there's employment there.
So that would be like behind the scenes type of stuff. And do you get like packing shelves in supermarkets? Are they happy to go and do that in the evening or at night? Because that's usually when those sort of jobs are done, isn't it?
Yes, certainly. Ideal for somebody with a bit of anxiety and obviously coming out of depression. Those sort of things are ideal because if someone is coming out of depression, the best thing they can do for it is get out and get a job and feel a worthy participant in the community. Even somebody with a bit of dyslexia, they can match the product title with the shelf label, and they can do it. And some people don't like the early starts for whatever reason, medication or whatever it may be. So therefore, the evening night stacking, as you mentioned, can be ideal.
Yeah, because some people with depression do find it difficult to actually get out of bed in the morning, would you say?
Yes,
Yeah,
totally.
definitely.
Yep.
I think, and not necessarily even just a depression, any kind of mental health, issue can sometimes be hard to find motivation.
Yes.
So it's definitely something that we help support moving forward.
There's been a growing trend of looking at mental health differently to my age group.
Definitely.
Did in the past, or earlier even than that. It's not much use trying to tell people to buck up, is it?
No, it actually is not helpful at all. And I think we're definitely taking mental health and mental disorders a lot more seriously than what we have in the past, which I think has definitely helped. There's a lot more information out there now, and a lot more support that these individuals are able to access, especially if they are suffering these disorders or issues that they wouldn't necessarily have been so open to talk about prior.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's so good that it is openly talked about. And for anybody listening out there that do have a bit of depression or anxiety, whatever it may be, always feel free to seek advice, because you're not going to be singled out. There's always people that are out there to help, like Kim and I at Community Connections for Employment Connections.
Yes.
We can get you. Not get you. We can help to get you in a happy space and start looking at employment opportunities, and get a CV together, or alterations to a CV to make it look more work appropriate, work ready, and talk about the correct attire, the clothing that you could be looking for to go out for your first interview or your next interview. Because that's all important too, the personal presentation, and that even those little steps makes people sort of feel so much better about themselves. It's get out and get a haircut and get a real job, as the song says. But it's just whatever we can do to help people, it just makes them feel so much better.
Yes, I think that society's more acceptance of different haircuts today than it used to be.
Oh yes, totally.
And being a grandparent, we have a lot of opinions that are not quite what the young feel is what they look good at, and so somebody else giving them some advice is much better than perhaps a family member.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes family can be so harsh, but definitely.
Yes.
Lots more inclusive, especially in this day and age where you can express yourself a lot more, like you said, with haircuts, with piercings, with tattoos and things like that. Understanding what actually you can have and maybe might not be the greatest idea is also definitely something, we help support and talk through.
Yes. Well, tattoos are very much a personal preference, but as you know, you can't be judgmental.
Absolutely.
No, but at times people with tattoos can be quite intimidating if they're on their face.
Yep.
And they don't perhaps realise that it is there for life.
And actually you'll find lots of tattoos, especially tattoos that are on faces and hands and things like that. Sometimes it's actually a cultural thing. So I think having the resources out there, especially for employers to understand, especially like with tāmokos and things like that, it's really important to actually understand what the cultural meaning is behind it, to be respectful, especially in the workplace,
And the person that's got those on their face, if they have got knowledge of why and how they've got them and display them, that is an understanding as well.
Oh, definitely. I think myself, I've got tāmoko on my hands, and I don't wear it as, a piece of art. I wear it because it's actually got cultural and spiritual meaning to myself. So I think when people ask, I'm more than happy to explain, what it is, what it means. And I think that just shows an understanding, not necessarily an acceptance, because some people don't agree with tattoos in general, but just the understanding and the respect of maybe why I wear it so proudly. And I think that needs to go over all of the workforce. It's just, if you can, really back up why you've got it and what it means to you, that should be, enough for the employer to understand, okay, they wear it with pride.
Yes, yes.
And as you mentioned, Wesley, they are there for entirety. So if somebody has them on their face, it doesn't, like Kim said, you got to be obviously wear it with purpose and pride. And the wearer of those tattoos may think it is a barrier, and in some cases it could be, because it could be, some people do not like the look of them or whatever. But there's always places where people can work with those sort of things. That's why we think a barrier is only as big as you allow it to be. And there's certainly workplaces that are accepting of tattoos on your face or wherever it may be. And so, we find the right place, the right employment for the person, and certainly do our best to help them in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to take a little break here. We'll play some music.
Excellent.
Okay.
How old you think I am, he said. I said, well, I didn't know. He said, I turned 65 about 11 months ago. I was sitting in Miami pouring blended whiskey down when this old gray black gentleman was cleaning up the lounge. Well, there wasn't anyone around except this old man and me. And the guy that ran the bar was watching Ironside on TV. Uninvited, he sat down and he opened up his mind on old dogs and children and watermelon wine. Have you ever had a drink of watermelon wine? He asked. He told me all about it, though I didn't answer back. He said there ain't but three things in the world that's worth a solitary dime, but old dogs and children and watermelon wine. He said, women, they think about themselves, well, when menfolk ain't around. Oh, and friends are hard to find when they discover that you're down. He said, son, I tried it all when I was young and in my natural prime. Now it's old dogs and children and watermelon wine. He said, dogs, they care about you even when you make mistakes. And God bless little children while they're still too young to hate. And when he moved away, I found my pen and I copied down that line about old dogs and children and watermelon wine. Yes, sir. Well, I had to catch a plane up to Atlanta that next day. As I left for my room, I saw him picking up my chain. And that night I dreamed in peaceful sleep of shady summertime, of old dogs and children and watermelon wine.
Right. know that was Charlie Pride. Now, when it comes to working out a CV, Shane, how do you go about that?
Okay, well, yeah, often the CV is the main tool really for somebody introducing themselves to an employer and outlining their skills and attributes and their strengths. Personal strengths is always a hard one to talk about, or a hard one for the individual to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's not until we start talking about what they can do well themselves, and then they actually get some idea of, actually, yes, I can read and write, and I do have good listening skills, and I do follow instructions, and all those. Sometimes people think they're simple tasks, but they're really important. And as we get talking further, the individuals we're supporting really open up and can actually put some good skills and strengths on paper. So yeah, it's great to be able to help them, assist them along those lines, and yeah, when we're looking at a direction for employment.
So when you're writing up a CV, you have an introduction?
Yes.
You know, I actually haven't got a CV.
Well, I'd say we could help you with yours, Wesley, but probably not needing one these days.
Well, yeah, as you say, it's what you think you're good at or what other people can tell you that you're good at.
Yes, yeah. There's always the references to ask, but it's best coming from the person. You know, the attributes of being honest and reliable, and all those good traits are really important to list. Yeah, and being able to live to that or work to those good things you put on paper, those good strengths that you have. Reliability, and yeah, it's all those good attributes.
And when it comes to personal presentation, how do you go about that?
Yeah, it's very personal presentation. Obviously, very important because the first impressions count, and it's certainly people's hygiene, cleanliness is a big thing, because I always explain to people that you don't want to be working alongside someone with a bit of body odour or bad breath. So it's all those things are important to address right at the start. And as far as clothing for interviews, we get assistance or we get assistance for the people we're supporting from Work and Income. They can help along there. We have good connections with the staff at Marston Wairarapa Work and Income. So they're great for clothing or transition to work, footwear and whatever it may be. So that's very helpful, and it's great working alongside Kim, because she can certainly advise. The advice coming from a female to another female is more appropriate than coming from myself, perhaps, because I've got very little or no hair for anybody that doesn't know me. So I can't be telling people how to have their hair when I don't have any myself.
Oh, but it's very, very neat to have shaved heads. But how do you get on in the winter?
Hard
To wear a
enough.
woolly hat.
Yeah, I've lived without hair for a number of years now, or less hair as the years get on.
Yes.
And you certainly do acclimatise to the cooler. Yeah.
Yes. And Kim,
Yes.
with the clothing for females, we used to have an organisation called Dress for Less that doesn't operate anymore.
No, there's
No.
similar
Just
organisations.
for success, possibly.
Oh,
For
yes.
success, yeah. There's other organisations out there too, but I find the ones that I can speak for the individuals that I have helped, pretty much just talking to them and seeing what they already have, and like Shane mentioned, organising with Work and Income, things like that. They're always happy to help,
Yes.
support getting into employment, whether that is, like Shane said, some funds towards interview clothes or shoes and things like that. So we always try and help. We get the individuals prepared for the interview before they even go, because that's pretty much most of the work there. You prepare before you even get to the interview to
Yes.
get the job, and then again you've got new things that you need to achieve after the interview
Yes.
that we also help with.
And I suppose colour has a bit to do with it? Putting colours together, or is that doesn't matter?
I don't know. I think it's based on the individual. This is just my preference. You know, obviously, as long as you're clean and tidy and presentable, I think that's what it is. But there's lots of people out there that really express their individuality by the way that they dress. And I would never be in a position to say to someone that your style is not acceptable, because that's kind of telling a person like, hey, that's not what the employer's after. But there's ways to go about, you know, toning things in and, you know, getting prepared, and it's just different approaches to people's style. Like you know, someone like me who doesn't do colour at all to be someone that loves colour, you know, like I would never tell them to wear black, kind of thing.
Yes.
But I think it's just tailoring it to the individual needs, as well as knowing what interview they're going to as well, also really, really helps.
And that would be on what you would imagine the requirement for the job would be.
Yeah, absolutely. We know all those kind of details prior to getting the individual ready, so it's a way of us implementing little tactics, I guess, to help without, you know, overbearing and telling them what to do.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure that support would be very welcome to people that are unsure.
Yeah, well, especially individuals that are nervous or have anxiety, or maybe even just individuals that haven't had the greatest interviews in the past, where they've left them feeling, you know, like not as happy as they went in. So I think having that little bit of support with us, being able to guide them, having job interview skills that we've already worked with them, just a little bit of understanding and knowledge going into an interview is a little bit more empowering.
That would be true. I would have. The confidence after you've been turned down a few times
Definitely, it can knock you
would
down.
be fairly low, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
and you got to build that confidence up, you know.
Yes.
Because even, you know, it's very hard to get the, you know, the first job you go to on your first interview for anybody. So just kind of having that understanding that, you know, nothing's guaranteed, and just finding out. We always like to get feedback of why maybe they weren't successful in this particular circumstance, so that way we can use that moving forward to help them, you know, for the next time.
So do you make any contact with the person that's they've gone to and get some feedback for yourself, so you can help with
Yep.
where it went wrong, perhaps?
Yeah,
or
no,
why
we've
they
normally
didn't
have
do the
quite a
job?
good rapport with the employer that we've sent them to. Normally, 9 times out of 10, you know, Shane has probably already organised the interview with the employer, so we already have that kind of relationship, so that we can talk to them prior to the interview, but not only that, we can talk to them after, whether it was successful or not.
Yes.
So we try and keep that relationship and those open lines of communication going, because like they always say, you know, knowledge is power. So the more we can understand of why it was a positive interview or a negative interview, helps us
Yes.
moving forward.
And for those people that are lacking a bit of confidence or a bit of anxiety, we can go along to the interview and actually sit in the interview with them, or even just go to the interview with them and wait outside, and just for that bit of confidence, because we've already built that rapport with people we're supporting, and so they can go into the interview with less butterflies than they actually may have had without us being there.
Yes.
So they can be a bit more reassured that we are there to support either in the interview or on the outside. And we always try to boost up their confidence as much as we can, get them prepared before they go. And yeah, like you mentioned, we do contact afterwards. If we're not in the interview, we contact afterwards and ask why not. If not, why not? And so we can use that as a learning process to make it better the next time. And any interview, if it's not a successful outcome, we look at that as a positive, because it was learning. We know you can do better next time. Yeah, for whatever reason they missed out, let's look at it doing it better next time. And it's good, good learning for the people, or good learning for us as well, because we always learn every day, learn something new. And like you mentioned about clothing, it's often a talking point. If somebody's wearing a bright blue shirt and green trousers, an employer might say, "Hey, really like the bright clothes you're wearing today," and it's sort of often breaks the ice, and it's good to be able to have that open conversation with the people.
Yeah. A certain amount of anxiety is not a bad thing, because if you're too relaxed, people perhaps don't take you seriously, that you really want the job.
That's totally right. Yeah, it's all about that balance, and it's not uncommon, or it's very common, I should say, that everybody's a little bit nervous going into things like this radio show this morning. Kim was a little bit probably nervous, especially when I told her last week, hey, this is what we're doing. But
Bring it on me.
but I'm a very confident person, and I've done it before, obviously. But
Yes.
but yeah, I've probably got too much confidence, like you say, Wesley. Too much confidence can sometimes be dangerous, also, because it's how other people perceive you to be, or yeah,
Like that ad, my car, my rules.
yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, well, shall we have some more music? And we can have a little natter off the...
Just before you do,
Yeah.
my car, my rules. As we talked about earlier, I'm legally blind. Kim, so I don't drive, but Kim drives. It's a little private joke we have sometimes, because Kim doesn't know the Wairarapa so well from coming up here. I give her directions sometimes. That's quite funny, taking directions from a blind man. Just shows that, some people's disability is also a strength. Yeah.
Here's my personal GPS.
Excellent. Thanks, Wesley. We'll go.
Okay, we'll have another track.
Sounds good. I enjoyed that.
Oh, please release me, let me go, 'cause I don't love you anymore. To live together is a sin. Release me, darling, to love again. I have found a new love, and I'll always want him near. His lips are warm while yours are cold. Release me, darling, let me go. Oh, please release me, let me go. 'Cause I don't love you anymore. To live together is a sin. Release me, darling, to love again.
Well, that was a short track. And while we were off, we were talking about the input that parents have when you are helping a person getting into employment. Sometimes the parents can wish too much.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was saying that track was quite appropriate, because please release me, let me go. Sometimes the parents can be a little protective. I like to push the boundaries. Although, like I said, I'm legally blind, I still run around town like you wouldn't think I had a visual impairment, and I ride a push bike. Sometimes people think, how can I do that, because it's so dangerous? But I like to still live as well as I can, and keep out there, keep active, keep fit. And it's I like to encourage others to be able to do the same. If you say you can't, unfortunately you probably won't. So you got to keep pushing yourself. And I talk to some parents like that also. So, hey, let Johnny get out there and give it a try, because you don't know until you've tried. It's you got to push yourself a little bit. And yeah, it's sometimes we've come a little bit unstuck when people have tried and it hasn't worked out for them. But hey, that's another learning curve, and I think we'll try something different next time.
I would say that the best thing for any person is to get fit and be fitter than they were before they got their depression or started to need assistance. And do you run a bit of a fitness program or encourage them to get out walking? Or
We certainly do encourage them to get out walking, and fitness can mean more than just physically fit, mentally fit, diet, eat well. We don't run any programs, but we certainly encourage healthy habits. We are employment specialists, but we can also refer people to the gym, dietitians, stop smoking plans, all those sort of. The good thing about the Wairarapa, we do have good networks around here, and everybody. We like to work collaboratively with all other agencies, and refer when we can. Basically, keeps everybody working for the same goal of the community participation for people and getting out and keeping well. Yep.
it's very easy to sit on the couch and not get motivated, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes.
I'd say if something's not working for you, change it. Do something different.
We get to know the individuals that we support. We get to know them very well, including their lifestyles, their family. We don't just find them employment and then wave goodbye and put them on their merry way. We stay with them. So I feel like things like that with depression, we kind of know. We also see red flags as well when we've been dealing with them for a certain amount of time and they notice things aren't quite right. So I definitely think even though we are employment specialists, we do definitely go further. We delve a bit deeper and always have extra networks and supports that we can put in place when we see or even know of things. Like we've got quite a few individuals who will text us and call us just to say hi because they haven't heard from us, and things like that. It's not just employment that we help with.
Do you help them perhaps with their medical practitioner?
Yes, we can go to appointments with medical practitioners because obviously we've got to know that they're well enough to be able to do the job that we're putting them forward for. Or if, like I said before, we like to encourage people to do better for themselves. But if for some reason they're not quite ready for 20 hours a week, hey, we can go to the GP and say, how about 5 hours a week for Johnny? Because that might be, that any sort of work or any sort of participation in the community is great for someone, whether they do 5 hours or 20, 40 hours. And we can always, like Kim said, we do keep communication with the people we're supporting. And if they start at 5 hours for a couple of months, maybe a few months later they might want to increase their hours, or if it's not quite right, we're in communication, so they might like to reduce their hours a little bit. So it's always we work alongside them, work with them, and not always work for them. But yes, we can go to the GP appointments or support them to make the GP appointments as well.
It's a good advocate for them, really.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Yeah, because your GP knows your mental capacity quite often, but also he knows what your medication is and whether that would affect your employment as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, totally. And we also work with pan disabilities, all types of disabilities or barriers.
Yeah, not just mental.
Yeah.
Even though depression and anxiety is quite, a lot of individuals, have that barrier. But like Shane was saying.
And do you take somebody that needs wheelchair access to get into the workplace?
Yes, definitely. And we can look at the workplace and we can arrange for alterations to be made for desk heights or things like that. And that cost doesn't need to be, the cost of the alterations doesn't come from the employer. We can source funding for that. And things like even as much as a disabled toilet in a workplace for an employee or ramps or whatever it may be, we can source funding for that. So any employers out there, don't think it's going to be a cost to you. We can certainly get assistance for that. Or we can access transport for people to get to work if it's going to be an issue. Obviously there are other
criteria.
certainly criteria that we've got to go by for that. But we can certainly look at any opportunities for people and try to work out ways around any barriers.
I think transport at the moment is quite tricky in the Wairarapa, isn't it?
It's certainly
Getting to and fro from places and expensive.
Yeah.
yes, it can be expensive, but hey, when you look at fuel costs, public transport isn't actually so bad. But yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, there are ways we can work with people. You know, everybody's an individual case, and so we talk to them how we can assist them with that also. But Marston or Wairarapa is a lovely place and so flat, easy to get around on a push bike. If anybody doesn't have the ability to drive, push bikes, e-bikes, amazing way of getting around. So yeah, there are certainly options, bus, taxis, but yeah, and like you said earlier, Wesley, about getting out and going for walks and things. Beautiful day, sunshine out there, lovely. We've got lots of areas we can go for walks around Marston, Wairarapa, and obviously often getting out and getting some fresh air is a great way to exercise, get some good health, good fresh air, and it's nice to be able to just say hello to somebody as we're passing, walking by.
Yeah, well, the hello in recent times has been quite tricky because everyone's got masks on and not now as much, and you just don't recognise people quite the same. I've said hello to a couple of people that I thought I knew, and they weren't the person I thought they were.
Eyes, eh? Over the
And
mask.
they're talking about communicating with your eyes, and I suppose your eyes can tell quite a lot, but not quite the same as the face from the nose down.
Yeah, well, that's another reason why I can say welcome to my world, because I can't recognise people's faces anyway with being visually impaired. So you know how I communicate with people. Yeah,
Yes.
I often recognise people's voices, but the same with a mask on, the voices are a little bit muffled and a little different. But
Yes.
yeah, we say hello, but also not just hello. We work with all ethnic, all cultures. I can't even say the word. So yeah, hello, kia ora. To anybody out there, any other cultural groups that have barriers, we can work with you all and find something appropriate.
So if you find it's beyond your field, you can bring in somebody that would a contact that would help you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we always refer to other agencies whenever we can. If we're unsure, we always like to provide the best opportunities for people and call on other people. Like I certainly call on Kim's skills for my inability to use technology sometimes. So strengths and weaknesses, we find it all and make sure we do the best for the people we are supporting.
Yes, well, while we're just chatting, I was going to suggest that the Citizens Advice Bureau has quite a bit of information as well, and I'm sure that you've come to us on at certain times, and our bureau knows exactly what you do. So that I think that is the great thing about volunteering at Citizens Advice, which is what I do, is that you learn so much, and you learn all the different connections and where you can help people, and that's how I found the connection with you to get you on and tell the rest of the community that you're not alone out there, are you?
No, that's right. Yeah. And it's great that Citizens Advice is centrally located just beside the community centre in Perry Street, where our office is for employment connections at Community Connections. So yeah, for anybody that is unsure, either go to the Citizens Advice on Perry Street. They can direct you to Employment Connections, or we are in the community centre at 41 Perry Street, Marston. I've got to remember where so I go to the right office. 41 Perry Street, Marston. Yeah.
Well, it's a wonderful hub. And how often are you there?
We are there Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
8:30. Well, not always there at 8:30. Often out at appointments. Either Kim or ourselves are available from 8:30 till 5. If we're not in the office, always available by email or phone. You can call the community centre and they can direct you from there to find us. Or I'm happy for people to contact me directly on my mobile 022 038 9217. I can't remember Kim's, is easy. But Kim, do you remember your mobile number?
Yeah, they can contact me on 027 737 5747.
That's right, I remember.
Lots of sevens.
So yeah,
I'll get a note of that later. But yes, it's very, very easy to find. And there's usually some parking. Not as easy as it used to be, because that Perry Street's a very busy street.
it is very busy, yeah, and there's some rascals who go out there quite fast to take care out there. But yeah, for if anybody is looking for employment opportunities, come and do have a chat, because it doesn't always have to start with full-time work. Like I said earlier, we can find part-time options, or if you just want to volunteer for a start to feel what it's like to get back into the workforce. Sometimes it might be a bit intimidating, but anxiety raising to get back into the workforce. So we can start with some voluntary work. So there's no commitments to do a long amount of hours, 40 hours or whatever it may be. So great to start with some work experience and get back into it and get involved in the community.
Or even if you just want to ask what the kind of process is. I think some people that may have not been in employment for a while is probably a bit daunting, thinking, where do I even start? What do I do? What's my expectations? So even if you just wanted to chat and see what would be involved, with there as well, without having any kind of obligations to have to start looking for work or anything like that.
Yes, totally. And obviously if there's any employers out there who are wanting staff, we can always here to help to either find the right person for you, find the right employee, or create a position with the skills of the people we are supporting. We can create a position to fill the gaps in your employment needs.
Well, that is the other thing with the Wairarapa is growing, and people are coming to live in the Wairarapa. I know there's probably quite a lot of elderly people coming to the Wairarapa, but then that means that there are other support systems in the Wairarapa, because no matter how old you are, there's always
Needs.
needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it all has a big spin-off.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes, totally. And that gives so many more options out there from there's always caregivers needed or gardening and for different people and cleaning. There's all those types of work out there. And it's not until if you're looking for employment, you think about all these options of things to do. There's actually lots of work out there if you want to get out and do it. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and give it a try.
Especially in the Wairarapa, we've got ample opportunities for seasonal work as well, which there's things that I'm just learning about, like corn, was it corn harvesting I think we were talking about the other day, and honey and bees and stuff, all these things that unless you kind of were from the Wairarapa, you wouldn't even know necessarily were out there. Yeah,
that's right. Thanks for reminding me about that. Can we also we can access training opportunities for people to learn to generate new skills, and with that honey harvesting or becoming apiary or silviculture, anything like that, we can access opportunities there, and also help with or get assistance with funding for things like that.
It's very interesting, the bee industry, isn't it? I mean, you see them out there moving the hives and moving them around, and so you do access the operators of those to help people get into that line of business, or learn how to become an apiarist.
Yes, certainly. We do have contacts there. To be able to provide training, or anybody that just wants some seasonal work doing the honey extraction or anything like that. We can pretty much find whatever you're looking for within reason in the Wairarapa. But there's lots of opportunities there.
Well, that would be interesting to actually just learn about it.
Yeah.
We went and saw a man last week who makes the hives, and
that was interesting.
He can tell you all about the bees and the different types of bees, the males and the females, obviously. And and making the hives, and the wax they use turns the wax into candles.
And the honey we got a little test pot of honey, and so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, great golden product here in the Wairarapa. So certainly lots of opportunities out there, and like I said, for employers as well, anybody that we haven't met, feel free to contact Kim or myself in Employment Connections. We can help you from whatever work environment you're in.
Right, well, we're going to play another track. I'll tell you what is after.
This may be our last good night together. We may never pass this way again. Just let me enjoy it till it's over or forever. Please don't tell me how the story ends. See the way our shadows come together, softer than your fingers on my skin. Someday these may be all we remember of each other. Please don't tell me how the story ends. Never's just the echo of forever. Lonesome as the love that might have been. Let me go on loving and believing till it's over. Please don't tell me how the story ends. Please don't tell me how the story ends.
There we go, another Charlie Pride. And it does date me, really. No, we're just going to recap on what we've been talking about. And so people shouldn't feel shy about coming forward to you.
No, definitely not at all. No discrimination of whatever your barrier, disability, concern may be. We're here to help anybody with any sort of barrier to employment, to find employment or meaningful activities, work experience or help with your CV to find employment, and then, also highlight your skills and strengths, and look towards some voluntary employment, voluntary work before employment.
When we're talking about a lot of people that have come to New Zealand recently who are looking for a new life out here, and they've got that barrier of language, that is something that is becoming quite obvious, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. Yeah, some people would consider it a barrier. We are funded by the Ministry of Health or Work and Income, the MSD, and also ACC for anybody with those type of barriers. So if somebody comes to us with something that we cannot help with, because they don't fit within that category, we can certainly refer them to other agencies that can assist in those ways, because we are good, but some things are out of our specialist range. And so, yeah, certainly happy to help and chat to anybody at Employment Connections.
Because we think of ourselves, whether you're Maori or Pākehā, as English is our first language. But when you think about how somebody whose English is their second language, just the whole thinking process is quite amazing, really, isn't it?
Yes, totally. Yeah. Or the other language that you didn't mention there, Wesley, is sign language. We can also help with people with sign language. Not that I know a lot of it myself, but we can certainly, we are learning sign language and can certainly help people with the third national language of sign language. And so anybody that's hearing impaired, we can certainly help the hearing impaired to find employment also. Not that you better listen to hear the radio show, obviously, but if you know of anybody with hearing impairment and want to help them find employment, send them our way. We can certainly help out however we can.
But Shane, this is recorded and it is televised.
Oh, excellent, true, yeah.
So people can see, and perhaps it's not quite like the TV where they have somebody doing the sign language, but it's a good thought.
Hi, I was actually quite happy to come on the radio because I thought I had a perfect face for radio, but forgot about the televised version.
I'm sure you'll go down well. Well, look, we've just about wrapped up this, so thank you very, very much for coming in. It's been great, and tell your people when you are talking to them that anxiety's not too bad as long as it doesn't take over your life.
That's right, yeah. You're only as anxious as you allow yourself to be,
Yes.
as in any challenge or barrier, yeah. And thank you, Wesley, for the great opportunity from the Citizens Advice Bureau to get us out there and talk about our employment at Employment Connections and the services we provide.
Well, that is a pleasure, Shane, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
Good. And now, just before we finish off, I just want to say that we, Citizens Advice, 43 Perry Street, Masterton, our phone number is 06377 0078. We have an 0800 number, 0800 367 222. People need to be aware that if they ring the 0800 number, they may get another bureau, because over the pandemic, a lot of bureaus haven't been open, especially in the Auckland area. So when we answer the phone, we do ask people quite often where they're calling from, because, crikey, we can get someone from Kaitaia or Otago, and that becomes quite tricky to answer those queries. But we have a very good setup where we can look things up on where we can click into the region, and we can try and help people find their nearest and dearest and what they require. So we also have a JP service. The JP service is Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. We find that we're very lucky that we have JPs that have trained as Citizens Advice volunteers, so that they are on duty as well as being able to do the JP service. And then we have Janet, who comes in specially on a Wednesday. But it is important that people ring first, just to make sure that the JP is there and if they're available. Now, the other service we do have is we do have the Senior Net operating out of our office on a Monday, and that has varied, but you do need to ring and find out. And they also, if you're wanting the Senior Net, you can ring it on an 0800 373646. and you can find out about when perhaps the senior net might be available. And the reason why we have got that at Citizens Advice is because over the pandemic they weren't able to use the library. And so it's another service that we're providing, and I think it works very well with the community centre right next door. We're all part of a good service that we're giving to the community.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank yourself and all the volunteers at the Citizens Advice Bureau here in Masterton. Such great service you provide, and like you said, it's, you might get calls from out of the region, but you're still able to give that great advice or forward them on to somebody who in the region where they're calling from. So it's awesome the work that you do there.
Yeah, well, it's like everything. We don't know everything. We only are able to empower people to help themselves, and that is one of our mottos, isn't it, to empower people to help themselves, just like you're doing.
Yeah, I
Excellent,
think alongside the other services in the Wairarapa, it's definitely something that can be utilised quite well.
Okay, so thanks, and thanks to you, our listeners and our viewers. I hope you've enjoyed our session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, right.